Now let's go to the big screen where we review any new releases. This week, there's only one we're talking about, and that's Paranormal Activity 4. Justin, what is this deep, deep story about?
Well, finally in the Paranormal Activity series, we're actually going forward in time as opposed to the previous two films, which have taken us successively further backward and backward. So this one is the first film to actually kind of, full film-wise anyway, follow up the original Paranormal Activity film. In this movie, it starts off with a little bit of information where Hunter and Katie have disappeared in California, and this film takes place it was in New Mexico, right? Santa Fe, New Mexico. And then once that's done, you're watching the film. And unlike the previous movies, this one seems to mostly be a FaceTime film, whether it's off of people's cell phones or their various computers that are stashed around the house. This film is mostly done through recordings made by these cameras, and it follows a husband and wife and their younger daughter. The woman across the street has some kind of medical emergency, and her creepy-ass son has to be taken in and cared for by someone until she's released from the hospital. This family takes that son in. And, of course, in these films, when you take in a creepy kid, bad shit's bound to happen to you, and bad shit does start to happen to you. So that's the basic premise of this film. Once the bad things start happening, we're watching different camera views late at night. There's some unusual things they do with this one. I'll have to ask you, Scotty, you might know this. Does the Kinect actually do that?
Yes, it does.
So that's how it detects movement. It's through that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not ultraviolet, but it's some kind of
infrared.
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 You can see it with an infrared lens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, within this film, once they start recording things, they do it through these cameras set up on laptops. And I think he even stashes one camera up in the living room that has one of those infrared lenses on it. So you can see those beams that are spreading out, and if things move through it, that shouldn't be moving through it. So let's start first off with the story. Did you guys feel like this followed up the first film well enough, and to a certain degree, second and third film, or did you wish the story had gone different ways? Let's try and be spoiler free.
As far as timeline wise, I thought it kind of flowed fairly well. I like that they did give the quick recap. I did recently watch the previous three just about back to back. So, I mean, myself, I was fairly caught up with it, but it was still good to kind of get that little refresher of, hey, what happened? Where are we at right now? So it was pretty good. The story wise, I mean, I do like some of the, we can get into it a little bit later with the production stuff, but it just kind of helped. It just kind of flowed along. There was some stuff towards the end that I didn't care for, but that's, I'm just really not too, pleased in general with it overall product, but I'll go more into detail on that later.
The hardest part with the story is that so much of the story takes place in the last 20 minutes of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
That it's hard to really go in depth into it without spoiling it. You hate to be generic and people, well, I wish you guys would say a little bit more. Well, if we go too much into the story, we end up spoiling what happens.
Right.
And that's a big part of it.
We've got like 3 or 4 brand new characters that you have to you have to grow with.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And in the previous two, we had at least, even though in Paranormal 3, where it was Katie as a daughter, you already knew who that was. You already related to her a little bit. This is a whole brand new family that we have nothing to go on, so you have to build that up. And unfortunately, it's just not that interesting.
Yeah, they don't do as good a job as they did in the last one because it's a new family and they're starting over.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of getting you invested in the characters, I do like how they introduce Alex, which is Catherine Newton. She's the teen that plays Alex, and Ben, Matt Shively, whatever his name is. He plays her wannabe boyfriend. She looks a little too young to be having a boyfriend and boys in a room.
Wow, you sound like such a dad right now.
Hey, man.
I thought she looked like she was perfectly dateable aged.
I don't know what dateable age is, but she looked about 13 or 14.
I thought she looked more like she was about 15-ish.
Yeah. All right.
You would know.
You're such a dad.
I am such a dad. But a lot of the story context that I want to talk about comes in the last 20 minutes. I'm not trying to plug the spoiler cast, but we will go more in depth than that. But the story itself is basically they set up the cameras because there's weird happenings. They run into a neighbor boy who's a little odd. He comes in the house, and he's creepy as hell. All right, I'll give him that. And obviously, there's some curiosity about his mom and what's her deal and why has weird things started happening since the young boy popped into the house. And then the story evolves from there. I think the story was actually interesting. I just think they didn't do a good enough job of selling it in the beginning.
It took too long. It
did take a little longer than usual.
Mm-hmm. I do like that they keep the idea fresh, though. It's not just the same, how we're going to set up this camera here, which they did a little bit of that, but, they added technology in this one with, like Justin said, the Kinect and
I was shocked that they actually used the word Kinect. I don't know how much, Microsoft probably loves free publicity, but, they didn't say FaceTime at all during the movie, so I'm assuming Apple said, you got to write us a check.
Well, they certainly got a lot of Apple OS showing on that movie.
Oh, well, maybe they did get a check. Maybe they just didn't say the name. I didn't hear FaceTime at all, but Kinect I heard many times.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the story, unfortunately, with this, I felt like there were a lot of areas where they just kind of left. They included things that either didn't need to be there, or they included it because they meant for something to be there, but they never did enough with it. For me, the biggest example of that is the mother and father's falling out with each other. Apparently they're not all that in love anymore. Yet that really never played into the film in any real significant way other than, a scene of one getting pissed off and walking away from the other and then something kind of spooky happening. Other than that, it's like, all right, you mentioned this multiple times, yet there's really no reason for it. They could have been happily married and it wouldn't have changed really anything in the story at all. All in all, though, I really kind of felt a little let down with the story in this one. This family ultimately is not a part of the family of that Katie and Christy and all the rest of them are a part of. I don't think that their story is going to carry on in the next film at all. And so there could have been, a different way to continue Katie and Hunter's story without having to invest in a whole new family. But maybe that's easy for me to say sitting over here. But these films kind of live and die by the performances of the actors involved. If they're believable, we're invested. If they're too acty, then we're not. Did you guys feel let down about the acting at all, or were you pretty well satisfied that everybody seemed genuine?
I felt they seemed pretty genuine. I mean, no one's performance really stood out incredibly high or low as far as like really good or really bad to me. Kind of the charm of these movies is that you really feel like you're just looking into somebody's life. You're not. They don't feel like they're acting, and I thought it was okay. The relationship between the girl and the names are escaping me. I apologize.
The young girl?
Yeah, the young
Alex.
girl. Alex and her, like you said, wannabe boyfriend. It seemed like genuine conversation that they'd be having over Skype or something. He's trying to flirt with her. He's trying to
get it on.
Trying to see some stuff.
As a
he
dad,
calls that kid cockblock.
Yes. As a dad, I wanted to punch that kid in the face, but go ahead.
Oh, like you didn't ever try that? Well, you didn't.
As a dad, I said, not as a teen. I liked Alex. I thought she was really good.
Yeah.
Catherine Newton did a really good job, and Matt Shively, or whatever the hell you say his name, as Ben, he was the best part of the movie. He cracked me up, and he seemed like a real kid. Even though he should have kept his ass, at home a little bit more, and stopped sneaking into the girl's room.
And stop just walking into their house.
Yeah, he's just like walking into their house randomly. Like, dude, I know what your future's going to be if you don't stop that shit. Knock it off.
It's going to be short.
But the kids were okay. I thought Brady Allen played Robbie as the creepy little bastard. He did a good job. The only one that I didn't like was Katie Featherston. Because anytime and it's not a spoiler, it's all over the trailers and the TV ads. Anytime she looks wow, since she lost all her weight, yay for her. But I just start laughing every time she does her little slow zombie walk and she's walking around, Possessed people can move a little faster.
Well, but she's in no hurry.
Obviously. She's like, I'll get there. Where are you going?
Yeah, she kind of let me down a little bit, but I blame a lot of that, though, on the writing and the directing. I'm sure they all told her, go slow, look dead-faced.
Yes.
Now, the production on these films has never been great because they don't need to be great. You need a house, you need some cameras, and then that's really about it. Of all of them, though, this one really has a lot more special effects going on than any of them I think have had.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the only one of them that could legitimately be in high def. Do you guys feel like this film had, what were the production elements of it, the directing, special effects and all that? Did they work for you? Did you think they've carried the tradition on well, or do they need to start changing things up?
I think it was really interesting how they incorporated FaceTime and PC cameras along with that. Instead of just having, we're going to set up cameras randomly, they actually used real technology. And that, to me, worked a lot better than some of the previous incarnations. Like the video cameras of the last one, come on, man. He has all these video cameras just sitting around. That one didn't play well as well with me.
He was a wedding filmer and a videographer, so it was believable that he had all these cameras. It's less believable that he had all those fucking tapes.
Yes. And this one really incorporated modern technology. Everybody has, iPads anymore. Everybody has computers with cameras in them. The Kinect was genius, I thought. Mm-hmm. I didn't think they did enough with it.
I agree.
They could have done so much more with that, but the way that they incorporated it and the way that some of the shots, you see some of the shots play out and you think it's going to go a lot more dramatically and it doesn't.
Yep.
But there's so much potential with how they did that. I would love to see more with the Kinect.
They spent more time explaining
how it worked,
and
than actually using it.
Yeah,
or they went too subtle.
They
went too subtle with it.
Well, I mean, in a way, they almost had to, because I don't want to give too much away here, but they set it up. They set it up so you're already looking for it. And mm-hmm. They did show it. They showed it a lot, and maybe they probably did too much setup and not enough payoff. Mm-hmm. Because when the payoff did come, it wasn't as shocking as I would have liked it to be. But they show it and you just kind of keep looking. It's almost mm-hmm. like Where's Waldo? You keep looking for the little dots to move.
Yep.
And you don't see it. You don't see it. You don't see it. So they almost have to. I don't know. Maybe they went to the well one too many times with the setting up stuff.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and bring this one home. Let's go ahead and do our verdicts. Aaron, you got $1 up to $10. How much would you spend to see this film?
Okay. I do like the series. I like the series quite a bit. I've really liked the last couple of movies. I thought they were damn near great, honestly. I got a couple good jump scares, obviously, like Scott was just talking about. And the acting was actually pretty solid, minus Mrs. Zombie Walk. $10 is the full price of admission. I'd give it 6.
Scotty, can you do that a little faster?
I'll try. I'd like to think that this formula is not wearing thin with it going into a fourth movie, because how much I love the first three, but this particular one seems to be reaching just a little bit too far in too many places for me to give it a real high score. 4 out of 10 for me.
Oh, wow. So apparently the answer to you, Justin, is no, he can't.
Apparently that's a big fail.
He had to go longer. Brian, what about you?
Okay, I thought they relied on the jump, the proverbial cat through the window scares way too often. There wasn't enough of the background spooky stuff that shows up that's worked so well in the previous movies. I'm giving it a 4. I thought this movie made me want to never watch another one again.
Oh, wow. Okay, Justin, last chance. You're the only one that might have a chance at going short.
I give it a 5.